And we're going to somehow think that the government now adding to stimulus, which is going to put them $30 trillion in debt, only seems manageable to them because A, they don't have a consequence to it. They don't understand personal responsibility. And we as citizens, if we think that they're here to save us, they're incapable of saving us. We have to save ourselves.
Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions.
There's so much craziness going on right now when it comes to the price of housing and even the, elevation of the price of all the crypto markets. Now, why is this? Why is it these things are becoming, so popular as far as crypto, and why is it that it's becoming so expensive to get a home? Well, first off, we can't just throw money in the economy by adding it to computer screens and things called stimulus checks without there being consequence. What's going to happen is price of things are going to go up as there's just a flood of money because your dollar's not going to go quite as far. That's inflation. The second thing is, people don't really buy based upon purchase price anymore. People aren't going, well, how much of a home can I afford based upon the amount of money I have? Because the answer for most people is a lot less than what they would buy. But what they're doing is they're financing their future efforts in labor with money from a bank right now. And because interest rates are so low, the payment per month has gone down so people can afford to potentially buy a higher priced home. But can they really afford it? They couldn't pay that off if they wanted to. Now they're riddled with this payment every single month, not realizing they're like, I just had to switch out our water heaters, We just had to do a bunch of plumbing work. We had to fix our air conditioners because of all the construction that's happened in our neighborhood and get those repaired and cleaned out. And so there's all these expenses that come with a home, including utilities, including a myriad of factors that a lot of times is hard to measure. So now people are out there, they're bidding over the asking price for homes. They're saying they're waiving all their buyer's rights just because it's so competitive, simply because interest rates have got to a point where they're as low as I could ever imagine. So the payment seems manageable, but the price of the home isn't. This artificial lending creates bubbles. And we're seeing the same thing happen in the crypto world, where you can now go get a loan against your crypto. You can put money in Bitcoin, but then you get a loan against it. When there's lending, there is a bubble. A bubble means it's inflating in value, but just like when we blow bubble gum, right, it eventually bursts. And that burst means that it comes crashing down. And the problem is, it engages people's greed glands. I gotta get in, I'm gonna miss out. I've lost weeks of sleep worrying about the crypto thing in 2017. And what am I missing out on? How would I should be doing this? But I had to study it and research it before I understood, yes, this could be a more efficient method of money supply. Because here we have the Federal Reserve, who's not federal, nor is there a reserve. They're private central banks. And they're issuing money to our government and charging some interest rate, even though right now that's nothing. But over time, they're getting paid. So every dollar we have is essentially debt that we owe back to the Federal Reserve. So they're making money. People believe that it's private when it's not, because it's a central bank. And ultimately, it's like having a Venmo account that's unlimited. Oh yeah, you guys want $1.9 trillion for the stimulus? Here you go. They're not printing that. Can you print $1.9 trillion in a few months? It takes 32,000 years to count to a trillion. If you could do it at 1 second per number, and remember the number that you had before, you know what's going on 32,000 years ago? Neanderthals, an ice age. And we're going to somehow think that the government now adding to stimulus, which is going to put them $30 trillion in debt, only seems manageable to them because A, they don't have a consequence to it. They don't understand personal responsibility. And we as citizens, if we think that they're here to save us, they're incapable of saving us. We have to save ourselves. So if you get caught up in the greed and the hype, or you want handouts or freebies, realize it's at a consequence of either your future posterity or you want to take from the labor of another. And I know that's not a popular response. I think in humanity, it's great that we take care of each other. But what if we took care of each other out of love versus out of force? I don't really love when the government makes the choice for me, because for every dollar the government puts into a program, even if the programs are amazing, it's bloated with a bunch of administration and costs. So if you get a $1,900 check from the government, it probably cost them $5,000 to get it to you. So this is the insane thing. The wake-up call is where you really want to increase your skill set, invest in yourself, Appreciate your own emotional intelligence. Get rid of all the complaining and frustration and instead take time to tune yourself up every morning with a morning ritual or reading or listening to things like this so that you can go out there and be more productive and solve problems and serve others and add value. Value creation is what's going to help us out. Not some entity forcing people to follow suit in what they're doing, because the government, if they had figured this out, would have figured out a long time ago. But no, they keep adding more taxes. And it's not just income tax, there's so many other taxes that we pay that it's really difficult. There's people in California that if they want to leave, they might get hit with an additional tax. They're talking about that. That's on there. Or wealth tax. So you have people that, think about it, maybe bought a home when it was only $70,000 decades ago in California. Now it might be worth $3 million because of how inflated everything's got, because we're lending and borrowing at such a low interest rate that if we add a wealth tax, it means it goes against a percentage of their overall net worth. Well, they might not be able to afford to pay that tax because all their net worth is tied up into a home that doesn't look like a $3 million home. It's just the artificial demand and bubble of these artificially low interest rates. Hey, government, you want to help us out? Why don't you just focus on the things that are critically important, like police officers and fire departments and the basics that are really important to protect and preserve our freedom and liberty, rather than thinking that you can solve everybody's problems. We can't. We've got to do this together. First rule, as human beings, we've got to care about other human beings. We've got to stop being so censored and think that, oh, what if I say something wrong and offend someone? Well, sometimes we just have a conversation face to face, not just on social media, asking questions, understanding the other side, actually giving a little bit of compassion rather than trying to be right all the time. Look, I've been confident always, but wrong often. Through my life, my wife has been married to one person, but it feels like at least 10 different people, because I've had the intellectual honesty to challenge my original thinking and beliefs to say, is this in the highest good of myself, of my family, and the other people in the world? And if we started asking those questions, rather than pointing fingers and judging and being frustrated and blaming and wanting to take from people, they're too rich or they're too poor, it's their fault or his fault or her fault or their fault, or hey, what did the president do today? I don't know. Because what we could do is be more present than count on a president. We can start looking at what we can do in our own lives rather than be overwhelmed by the global economy. And we can understand that there are artificial bubbles that if we get caught up in the fear or greed of missing out, we might get in when it's really late, and it financially devastates us. So if you don't know where to invest in yourself. If you don't know what to do, take care of yourself first by starting your day with a little bit of gratitude, maybe even some meditation, maybe a little bit of a workout or a walk or organizing something or writing a list of things that you could do that are productive or helpful, or write a card to someone you love. Maybe we could all just start showing a little bit more humanity. That's where it would be great to see an appreciation of things rather than the conflict that we face or the judgment that's constantly out there. And that kind of stuff can get defeating and frustrating and overly annoying. And I don't care where you came from, how wealthy you are, what color your skin is, or what the background is. What I know is we all came from the same place, and hopefully we're all going to the same place. And ultimately, maybe we could make this ride along the between of that a little bit better for each other with a little compassion, with a little bit of love, with a little bit of personal responsibility, which isn't sexy or exciting, but if we had more personal responsibility and accountability rather than pointing the finger, well, you don't have to worry about saving the world. Take care of yourself. When you take care of yourself, you'll be better prepared to take care of your family. When you take care of your family, all of a sudden you can contribute more to a tribe of people that you know and love. And then that tribe can start to influence and support the community. And then that community might have a little bit of impact in the world. But if you think the world is your responsibility, you get exhausted and tired and disconnected and frustrated. And there's so many narratives that are filled with fear and anger. Fear and anger are distractions that remove us away from love and humanity. What can we do for someone else in the moment? Whether it's a smile, whether it's a note, whether it's a listening, whether it's acknowledgement, whether it's simply seeing other people. People don't feel seen or heard today, and they feel censored, and that is a recipe for disaster. If we really could understand just for a moment how people feel and allow them to have those feelings. Allow them to vent for a minute, but then say, what can we do to support? How can we help out? Because we're all doing the best that we can, but if we get caught up in everyone else's problems, we never take care of ourselves. So, in summary, there's a lot that I covered here today. One, there's a bubble that's in the lending world because people have really cheap access to money, and that could end up creating a place where people can't afford the property if interest rates go up, and the government could be in a lot of trouble when they borrowed so much money if that reserve rate goes up, if the federal rate goes up, and they have to pay a higher amount per month. And then the next thing we covered is simply crypto. Like, this is a different way to potentially store money. They refer to Bitcoin as digital gold, or there might be new ways to transact money. I have a business partner in Canada. It's really easy to pay him through cryptocurrency because of, rather than doing wires and all the international rules. So we're looking at maybe a new, elegant, more efficient way to work with one another, where it's not hidden behind some bank vault or bank doors or bank computers, but you could have a ledger and kind of see what's going on. There's a lot to it, but it is something that I really encourage you to get up to speed on, learn a little bit about, and understand, because it's going to be a lot like the internet. People that go, no one's ever going to buy anything online. Now that's pretty much where most people buy things. That's kind of how I feel about cryptocurrency. But because it's being lent on and it's got a lot of hype around it, you're going to see something skyrocket and then crash down. It's a little bit like the gold rush. The people who are probably going to get the wealthiest are the ones supplying the tools, the exchanges, the places doing the lending, not necessarily the people that are speculating, buying something they don't understand. So be careful with that kind of stuff, but start to understand how it might be useful in your life. And then ultimately, what can you personally do to take personal responsibility? How can you reach out and give a little bit of love or laughter or friendship to someone, or just check in on someone or write a note, and take care of yourselves, whether that's a little bit of time carved out for you every day. Don't feel guilty for self-care, because self-care is an essential part of living an extraordinary life. So, this is Garrett Gunderson. Remember, turn your thoughts into profits and go out there and build the life you love.
Want to master your money? Want to figure out the things that you could do to improve your finances? Click here and check out more videos like this on Money Matters.